about okay, we'll be learning about nutrition. Uh, Thanks, Roland, for the PowerPoint. So now nutrition. What do we have under nutrition? I think this PowerPoint is mostly based on the questions that you'll be having for the test. So if you prepare from this itself, you'll be able to write the test. So anyways, we'll go through the PowerPoint. Now the dietary guidelines and its various forms, in its various forms. I'm sure many of you have heard about the food pyramid when you were younger. Have you all heard about the food pyramid? I need you to respond so I know that you're listening. Do you all know about the food pyramid?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. So now you should in the US where this basically comes from, they don't use the food pyramid anymore, but they have a different graph or a different diagram according to which they follow their dietary guidelines. So we'll go through them. This is one, and then you have the Eatwell plate that came out in 2007. But we'll roughly go through the third one that came out in 2016 and is still being followed today. So if you can see the Eatwell guide, it's used to help one get a balance of healthier and more sustainable food. It shows how much of what you eat overall should come from each food group. Okay, so what any one of you, can you tell me what your diet is usually like during a day, any day? What do you eat more of in a day?
Rice.
Mostly rice.
Yeah.
Is it the same with everybody or just you?
Within my family.
I mean the other students in the group.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know all of you. But how is it with the others? Most of you eat rice mainly? Okay, I need you to really respond.
I prefer to eat little of barley flour mixed and some uh, quinoa flour mixed and make some porridge, things like that.
Oh,
Make a porridge and eat. This is what I prefer in the mornings.
okay. So all of us have different a different diet. So at my house we mostly eat brown rice, and for some it may seem funny, but we have brown rice in the morning with some vegetable curry or something like that. And then in the afternoon it's pretty much the same. We have rice again and some other curry, and then in the evening we try to avoid as much as possible. So everyone has a different diet for themselves or with their family. But according to the Eatwell guide or the Eatwell plate, you can see okay, the green section of this diagram. It says eat at least 5 portions of a variety of fruit and vegetables every day. So it's more than 1/3 of uh it's supposed to be more than 1/3 of our daily intake. Fruits, vegetables, mostly like I don't know children at this age if they still like to eat vegetables and fruits, but it is a very essential part of our diet. It has to be at least more than 1/3, at least 5 portions of a variety of fruit and vegetables every day. You can't just have carrots every day or just eggplant every day or banana every day. It has to be a variety. And then the other side, you have the yellow portion. That is also about more than 1/3 of the intake. You have whole grains and high fiber versions with less added fat, salt, and sugar, such as potatoes, bread, rice, pasta, and any other starchy carbohydrate. So we can see potatoes, bread, then you have whole grain cereals, porridge, then brown rice, spaghetti, bagels, whole wheat pasta. Those kind of things come under this section. Then you have, uh, you see the pink portion. You have beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, and other proteins. Okay, so this is the protein section. And under that itself, it says eat more beans and pulses, 2 portions of sustainably sourced fish per week, one of which is oily. And then it says eat less red and processed meat. So, this protein section, yes, we see meat, but then it's preferable that you take more plant-based protein. And then we have the blue portion here where it says dairy and alternatives. We have milk, yogurt, or any alternative for dairy such as soya milk, you have tofu. Those kind of things come under the dairy and alternatives. And then the very small portion, the purple portion, it says oils and spreads. This should be a very, very small portion in your diet. Okay, so this makes up the Eat Well plate or the Eat Well guide. Um, and then we have in the corner, you can see the most attractive, I think, of all of the whole diagram. You have the chips and chocolates and cupcakes and whatnot. That should be eaten in very, very less amount. And then on the top right corner, we see that should have at least 6 to 8 glasses of water. So we've been learning these things from our childhood, right? Like you can see it in your school. Even in the school, they tell you, like when they tell you you have to eat healthy foods and all that, they tell you what should not be eaten, what can be eaten, and uh, in how much amount it should be eaten. Okay, so that's basically the Eat Well guide. Then we have the next part is list the number of servings from each food group. Now we have different food groups, right? From the previous diagram. So it's basically summarizing the previous slide. Fruit and vegetables, you have at least uh, 5 portions a day in variety. Then you have carbohydrates, base meals on whole grain choices where possible. Then dairy alternatives, choosing lower fat and lower sugar options. Protein include various types, include 2 portions of fish every week. And then fats, choose unsaturated oils and spreads and eat in very small amounts. Then you have drink 6 to 8 cups or glasses of fluid, preferably water a day. And then you have the high fat, salt, or sugar foods and drinks. Have these in less often and in small amounts. So it just summarizes the whole diagram. The next part is why is it important to eat a balanced diet? Okay, so uh, there are 5 main points of why it is important to have a well balanced diet. Vitamins and minerals are required to keep our bodies working correctly. So whatever we eat, uh, we should make sure that we're eating healthy so that our bodies are working correctly. Then maintaining a well balanced diet gives us energy. Of course, we have the junk food that gives us energy, but that is not the energy we require. So it's very important to have a well balanced diet. And then also keeps our bones strong and then helps prevent, if not some, it actually prevents a lot of disease. And then helps us to keep a healthy body weight. Okay, so these are the 5 main points of why it is very important to have a well balanced diet. Now the difference between vegetarian diets. Okay, now we know non-vegetarian and vegetarian. We know the differences between these two. How many of you are vegetarian?
I'm
Nobody.
not.
You're a vegetarian?
No, no, no.
Okay. Anyway, Uh, it's all right. The difference between vegetarian diets. Of course, we know non-vegetarian means people who eat meat. Okay, that's how we usually classify them. But then under vegetarian itself, we have another classification. Okay, so we'll see the difference between vegetarian diets. We have four. The first one is lacto-ovo vegetarian. Lacto, you can, by the word itself, you understand it refers to milk or dairy. So lacto refers to milk or dairy, and then ovo, you understand it comes, or you can understand that the word refers to egg. So lacto-ovo vegetarian, um, they don't eat meat, but they eat dairy products and eggs. Okay, they don't. Usually they say vegetarians are people who don't eat any animal products or anything. But lacto-ovo vegetarians, they eat both dairy products and eggs. And then lacto-vegetarian, like I mentioned earlier, lacto refers to milk. So these type of vegetarians eat dairy products but not eggs. And then we have ovo-vegetarian, they eat eggs but not dairy products. And then we have the vegan vegetarian. They don't eat eggs, dairy, or any other animal products. Only plants or foods made entirely from plants. Okay, so these are the four basic classifications of vegetarian. Next, we have nutrients. Nutrients. What do we understand by nutrients? Okay, so under nutrients, we have uh, two classifications. The first one being macronutrients. These macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. Um, Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, they are needed in larger amounts from the diet, and their basic job is for energy and to repair tissues. Okay, so carbohydrates, what are some examples of carbohydrates? Anybody?
Rice,
Right, right.
the
Any other
best.
example? The best example of carbohydrates, right? Then proteins
From
what
meat,
from meat.
yeah,
Okay,
there is also tempe, that vegetarian tempe.
is that gluten?
No, no. It says if the good what? Tempe is from the soya beans, but it's already fermented.
Tofu.
Other, yeah, other
So,
than tofu, tempe, yes.
okay. So that's an example of protein. Then fat, any example for fat?
The fats can be oil,
Yes,
butter.
butter. Right. Okay, so we know what comes under carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. So these uh, should be taken in larger amounts from the diet, and we understand that their basic job is for energy and to repair tissues. Okay, just because fats comes under macronutrients, of course we need fat, but it should be in a moderate amount. Okay, not too much. Okay, then we have micronutrients. Under micronutrients, these are the nutrients that are needed in smaller amount. You can see the difference, right? Macro and micro. Micro is needed in larger amounts, and then micro is needed in less amounts. So under that we have vitamins. Vitamins are compounds that help regulate and support chemical reactions. Okay, so what are the vitamins? I'm sure you all know this.
Vitamin
Name?
A,
Yeah,
B,
vitamin
vitamin
D,
C,
E, right?
D.
Simple. We've been learning that from our childhood. Vitamins. Okay. Then we have minerals, elements used to promote chemical reaction and form body structures. Okay, so it's given in simple terms. I hope you understand. I'm not going to go very deeply into that. So micronutrients, we have vitamins and minerals, and they are needed in very small quantities in the diet. If you notice the difference, uh, macronutrients, they're needed in larger amounts. You can see in the brackets, it's needed in grams. Whereas for micronutrients, it's in micrograms. Okay. Next, list 3 significant sources of the following nutrients. Okay. Vitamin C. Now, before I get into vitamin C, now tell me what are some food sources of vitamin C? I know it's already there on this slide, but name a few.
Kiwi, oranges,
Yes.
pineapple, guava.
Yes. Okay, so the main food sources can be the like orange, then mango, strawberry, red sweet pepper, grapefruit, kiwi, sweet potato, broccoli. And you have lime, and then like our sister said, guava. Guava is actually a very guava is very rich in vitamins. Okay, so vitamin C, it helps to absorb iron, prevent scurvy. It's needed for a range of essential metabolic reactions in the body, and it's needed for immune system. Okay, so vitamin C, it is very important for the body. Um, Next, moving on, we have vitamin A. What are some sources of vitamin A?
Papaya,
Okay,
small amount in the apple.
okay.
I'm not sure. Pumpkin, I can see that in the picture.
Yeah, it's all there in the picture. Okay, so vitamin A, we have carrots, then sweet potato, pumpkin, apricot, again mango, papaya, kale, spinach. Okay, so these are foods that are rich in vitamin A. We can see orange as well, but although orange has uh, vitamin A, it is more rich in vitamin C. Okay, so vitamin A helps with vision, bone health, reproduction, immune system, keeping cells and airways healthy. Okay, helps with vision. Most of us wear glasses, I think. Um, I remember my mom always used to tell me, eat carrot, eat carrot, it's good for your eyes, and I don't like carrots, and now I have to wear my glasses. So if I had eaten enough carrots, maybe my vision would be a little better. But anyways, vitamin A helps with vision. It helps with bone health as well, reproduction, immune system, and keeps cells in airways healthy. And this vitamin is a fat soluble vitamin. Next, we have vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. Okay, if you notice, vitamin B, uh, it's written vitamin B1, right? When we saw vitamin C and vitamin A, it was just vitamin C and vitamin A. There was no number next to it. But then for vitamin B, we have it's like broken down into different groups again. So we have vitamin B1. We'll be dealing with vitamin B1 and B2. There are other ones that come under the complex, but we'll be only dealing with vitamin B1 and B2. So B1, it is also known as thiamine. It helps with carbohydrate metabolism, nerve function, and heart function. It is also a water-soluble vitamin, and the food sources are soya milk, sunflower seeds, pulses, whole grains, whole grain carbohydrates, fortified breakfast cereals. Okay, so these are all rich in vitamin B1. It is helpful for carbohydrate metabolism. Basically, it breaks down the carbohydrate that enters our body. And then it's also helpful for nerve function and heart function. Next, we have vitamin B2, also known as riboflavin. This also helps with carbohydrate metabolism, and it is also a water soluble vitamin. And the food sources are milk, yogurt, uh, mushrooms, spinach, fortified breakfast cereals, and eggs. Okay. Then we have iron. What are some foods that are rich in iron?
Green leaves.
Yes, green leaf. Um, what else?
There is egg,
Hmm,
dried fruits, of
dried
course.
fruits, dates,
Yeah.
raisins. So iron helps red cells to transport oxygen around the body. Include kidney beans, spinach, green beans, broccoli, potato, dried fruits, red meat, tofu. Then uh, yeah, those are the food sources for iron. Then we have calcium. Okay, more than 99% in the body used to grow, develop, and strengthen bones and teeth. Okay, calcium is needed for growth, for development, and to strengthen bones and teeth. And then calcium is also needed for blood clotting, muscle contraction, and nerve signaling. Okay, it's a very important part of the diet. Uh, should be means it's like very important that you have enough calcium in your body, not only for your growth or development, it is also very important for blood clotting. If you have less calcium in your blood, sometimes the blood may not clot like it's supposed to, or the muscles may not function like they're supposed to. And it's very important for nerve signaling as well. Okay, so calcium is not only important for the bones, it is important for the blood as well. Then vitamin D helps to absorb calcium. Okay, so sometimes we make this joke, no, when someone says, "Why are you sitting out in the sun?" and then we tell them, "Oh, vitamin D, vitamin D." But the sun, uh, sitting out in the sun, yes, it gives you some source of vitamin D, and this vitamin D is very essential to absorb calcium. Okay, then you have the food sources for vitamin D: milk, yogurt, um, and then or fortified plant-based alternatives such as cheese, spinach, fortified cereals, tofu, broccoli, green beans, and almonds. Okay, calcium is not only from milk or dairy products, you can find it in plant-based foods as well. Now, why is it important to drink plenty of water every day? Why do you think it is important to drink plenty of water every day?
To be hydrated.
To be hydrated. Okay, any other point? Why is it important to be hydrated?
Our body contain more than 70% of fluid. So if we use our this one, we need to replace it to replenish.
Yes, all right. See, that is the importance of drinking plenty of water every day. Okay, so the functions of water, it maintains chemical processes. You need water or you need fluid in your body to maintain chemical processes. Then water makes a very huge uh, portion of blood volume. If you're dehydrated, then your blood volume also reduces. And body temperature regulation. You notice when you're dehydrated, then you easily get sick if you're dehydrated when you don't have enough water. So water is important for body temperature regulation. Then you have removal of waste products, another very important function of water. It removes all the waste products from our family. So not from our family, I'm sorry, from our body. So it is important to have enough water. Then another function of water makes up body fluids like lubricant around the joints. Okay, so water is important because it makes up the body fluids, like in our blood and also around the joints. Then it is needed for digestion. It is part of saliva and bile. Then water is uh, also needed because, like in the case of a pregnant woman, then you have amniotic fluid acts as a shock absorber around a growing fetus. So it is important that the person stays hydrated. He has enough fluids in the body to meet the various needs of the body and to perform the various functions or the proper functioning of the various parts of the body. Then you have named three common diseases that can be controlled by diet. Okay, three common diseases that can be controlled by diet. Can you name any few?
Diabetic,
Yes, diabetes. Then what else?
heart problem,
Heart problems. Yes. One more. Can you?
mm,
Okay, we'll move on. Name three common diseases that can be controlled by diet. The first one is cardiovascular or heart disease. Okay. You see in the diagram, the first blood vessel is what a normal blood vessel would look like. Okay. So you have the red blood cells moving through the blood. You have the artery, and then you have the red blood cells, and they're flowing freely through the blood vessels. Now in the second diagram, you can see uh, where there's this yellow portion of fat that is deposited on the artery wall. So it's deposited on both sides. And then you see that the flow of the blood cells is reduced, or it uh, is not as free as the first one. It becomes narrow and it's difficult for the blood to flow through. And then you see the last one where the yellow portion or the fats are almost covering the whole. Means they're blocking out the red blood cells. They're blocking the red blood cells from moving from one side to the other. So not enough red blood cells are allowed to flow, or not enough blood is allowed to flow basically. So cardiovascular or heart disease, narrowing or blocking of blood vessels, usually from cholesterol buildup. Sometimes it calcifies and then it breaks down, and then it can lead to other problems such as stroke and heart attack. Okay, so cardiovascular or heart disease, it is the narrowing or blocking of blood vessels, usually from cholesterol buildup, and it can lead to heart attack or stroke. So diet changes that can help reduce or that can control this disease: reduce fat and sugar intake, reduce animal fats that are basically the saturated fats, and then swapping to plant fat. Okay, so sometimes they say, oh, but we won't get enough fat or we won't get enough protein, we won't eat meat. But those uh, can be substituted to plant fats or plant protein. And then you have increased fruit, vegetables, and whole grains. Okay, so this cardiovascular heart disease It can be prevented and it can be controlled just by making these dietary changes. Then we have hypertension. Hypertension is blood pressure in arteries is too high. The blood pressure in the arteries is too high. It is usually caused by too much salt or alcohol intake or by being overweight and not having enough exercise. Okay, so if you have too much salt in the body, the salt is retained, the sodium is retained, and then it is not excreted from the body. Then it builds up pressure in the body. Then being overweight also can cause hypertension. Not enough exercise can cause hypertension, and then this hypertension or the increased blood pressure in the arteries can lead to heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, heart failure, eyesight problems, vascular dementia. Okay. Then diet changes that can help: reduce salt, reduce fat and sugar intake, reduce animal fats, and then increase fruit, vegetables, and whole grains. Okay. Then we have anemia, iron deficiency. Iron deficiency. This is where the iron content is less in the body. There's not enough iron in the diet, or the iron is not being absorbed properly. It can lead to tiredness, shortness of breath, and heart palpitation. You see sometimes people that have anemia, they get tired very easily. Sometimes shortness of breath, they just by doing some small work they can get short of breath, or sometimes even yawning too much, you can understand that the person is either short of breath or they're tired. And then you have heart palpitations where the heart beats or pounds, uh, like heavy pounding of the heart or irregular heartbeat sometimes. Then diet changes that can help include choosing iron rich foods. Then we saw the iron rich foods, right? Sources of iron rich foods. You can choose to eat those, or eating with vitamin C rich foods. Iron supplements can be taken after consulting with a healthcare professional. Okay. Then osteoporosis. Now, osteoporosis. What is the difference that you see between this diagram on the left and the one on the right? Can anyone tell me what is the difference between this diagram on the left and the one on the right? Okay, nobody. Okay, so on the left we see a healthy bone. Yes, there are you can see small like pores, but it is a very like it's very small. Okay, on the healthy bone. Whereas in the osteoporosis, the pores are larger, and then that causes the bone to become weak and brittle. Okay, so osteoporosis is where the bones become more porous, and then they become easy to break. They become weak bones. Okay, so it is low bone density, weak bones, or they break easily. That is osteoporosis. Then there are many possible causes, not only diet. Diet changes that can help include getting enough calcium and vitamin D when you are young. Okay, this is very important. It's an important point. Getting enough calcium and vitamin D when you are young. Sometimes they tell adults or something when their bones are when they say, oh my, I feel uh like my bones are weak and all, they tell them, oh, drink more milk or take foods that are rich in calcium. But it is important to get enough calcium when the when you're still young, when the bones are still forming. Um, we were listening to a talk uh, one day, and a certain man was telling that the, um I think it's Norway, if I'm not mistaken. They have the highest. This country consumes a lot of milk. It is the highest consumer of milk, but ironically, they have the most cases of uh, fractures and bone diseases and such. So it is very important that enough calcium is taken. Foods with enough calcium are taken when you're still young. Then we have type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, when the body is unable to regulate the sugar in the blood, or when the blood in the sugar, the levels of blood sugar in the blood goes too high. Usually caused by being overweight, not just from eating too much sugar, but also from eating too much of anything that causes weight gain. So it's not just because you eat sweet stuff that you can become a diabetic, but also because of eating anything that causes weight gain, such as sugar or fat. Then diet changes that can help include reduced fat and sugar intake and increase fruit, vegetables, and whole grain. And most importantly, exercise. Next, what is the difference between whole wheat flour and white flour? And which one has the higher nutritive value? Okay, we have whole grain versus white grain. If you see the whole grain contains the outer covering called the bran. This is the fiber-rich outer layer that protects the seed and contains B vitamins and trace minerals. Okay, so it contains B vitamins and small amounts. And then you have the yellow portion called the endosperm, the middle layer that contains carbohydrates along with proteins. Then you have this orangish portion that is called the germ, the small nutrient-rich core that contains antioxidants, including vitamin E, B vitamins, and healthy fats. Okay, so in the whole grain, you have the bran, endosperm, and the germ, whereas in the white grain, you have only the endosperm. Basically, the bran is uh, uh, removed or it is polished out. So whole grain flour contains all parts of the grain, which include the bran, germ, and endosperm. Example, wholemeal bread and brown rice. Whereas white flour contains mostly endosperm, and the bran and germ are removed during milling. Then you have whole grain flour. Whole grain flour contains more fiber, micronutrients, and healthy fats. So basically, this whole grain uh, is more healthy because you have the whole grain in itself. You have all parts of the grain. You have the bran, you have the endosperm, and the germ. Whereas the white grain, you just have the endosperm, and that contains only carbohydrates along with some protein. What does dietary reference value or reference intake mean? Reference intake. Reference intake is the amount that is enough to ensure the needs of most the population are being met. Okay, so rough idea of how much the average adult needs to eat in a day of main nutrients: energy, fat, saturated fat, carbohydrates, sugar, and protein. So it is the amount of uh, nutrients, or the amount of main nutrients that an average adult needs to eat in a day. So you have a rough graph of uh, how many how how much each 100 grams contains in, or like if you have a food product, if you see on the back, you have graphs like this. Okay, so it tells you how much of each mineral is in that food product. So a rough idea of how much the average adult needs to eat in a day of main nutrients is called reference intake. Dietary reference values. estimates of nutritional requirements for groups of people in a population, takes into account age, body size, activity levels, gender, and physiological state. Okay, so these are the reference values um, that are taken into account. According to a person's age, they need to eat a so and so amount of they need so and so amount of vitamins or minerals or that amount of food that is needed. Okay, or according to body size, activity levels, and gender and physiological state. So I won't be going to details about these dietary difference values, but you can check it out. There's a link that is given. Then, why is it important not to take excessive amounts of of some vitamins and minerals? Sometimes we say, oh, like when we have something to eat and then we say, oh, this is healthy, we can eat how much we want. That's not right. Food all food should be eaten in moderation. Sometimes even large amounts of vitamins or minerals can be toxic to the body. So some examples are large amounts of vitamin A can lead to birth defects, uh, nerve, liver, bone, and skin disorders. Then large amounts of vitamin D can weaken the bones and heart. Then large amounts of vitamin E reduces blood clotting and causes weakness. Large amounts of vitamin C can cause diarrhea, and large amounts of B6 can cause nerve damage. And large amounts of minerals such as iron can cause tummy upset, nausea, constipation, and even coma. Fluoride weakens the teeth. Zinc can stop absorption of other minerals. Then sodium taken in large amounts can cause high blood pressure and dehydration. Okay, so um, plan a 2-day menu containing balanced lacto-vegetarian diet utilizing the Eatwell guide. Okay, this will be an assignment. I think Roland can collect uh, the assignment. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll share the I'll share the requirements and in the PDF. So you'll get a PDF form.
Yeah.
Just send it once you have filled it up.
Yeah. So you can plan a 2-day uh, diet plan:
Yeah.
breakfast and snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, and drinks. And you can submit it to Roland. Will that be good? This is an example, but you can make your own. I want you all to make your own, not copy what is given. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.